What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. Last time out we were at the Australian GP and we had an unfortunate mechanical failure, which you will shortly find out why. Pretty much immediately we have an aero department event. These are pretty common pretty much as soon as we start these videos because they basically give me one or two between every race weekend always. Here you see we're putting some training on for Enzo. We did get a little bit of a rebate, but not a massive one, and yeah, soon it will come the time to change the engine component that failed, but it will all be revealed in good time. Next up we have the Chinese Grand Prix, which is the first time that I'll be doing this track in a career mode in about 3 years, I think. I think 2019 was the last time it was in the game. You see it was a CE failure there, which is actually a pretty big blow because you only get 2 of those in the whole season. So now that's a nailed on penalty, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But yeah, so China. Generally I was very excited about this. It was not ever one of my best tracks, but it was never one of my worst. By far it was very sort of, I don't know, a sort of middle ground for my sort of abilities in this game. So yeah, I was hoping that it would go pretty well and maybe we'd be able to bag a point or two with a car that we've kind of been overperforming with at the moment. Obviously I know that Australia didn't quite go to plan, but I think that could have been a lot better if not for you know, some of the issues that we had there. Not even just the failure, but also in qualifying we had a few issues with Enzo blocking us on our flying lap. But you know, you get the hand, you have to deal. What something dealing hand poker metaphor. So there we go. That's the end of practice, and you see we weren't in the mix anywhere, but join us again as the rest of the weekend unfolds. We were at least ahead of Enzo Fittipaldi, and we're also ahead of both of the Alfa Romeos, so I was thinking maybe there was a chance we might be able to sort of sneak into Q2 or something like that. I think actually the weather forecast said that there was going to be rain for qualifying only, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So yeah, we'll just go through all the development boosts and stuff. Yeah, at this point we're kind of in a bit of a sort of no man's land. You know, we've got the points that we need. Mostly, we're only 3 points away from hitting our season-long target, and this is race number 4. So, if I can bag an 8th place here, then we could, yeah, be looking at hitting our season objective already after only 4 races. And then we have to make our own objectives, which I'm never particularly good at doing. I like it when the game just gives them to me. Currently 6th in the Drivers' World Championship, which is pretty good, and I think we're 4th in the Constructors' Championship still, which is nice. We might have dropped to 5th after the DNF, I'm not sure. Put on another chassis upgrade. This is going to be big. The more chassis upgrades that we can get on the car, the better, because that's where we're really lacking compared to our competitors at the moment. A little bit in durability as well, but mostly it's all sort of chassis. Maybe aero. I think the engine's pretty much fine at this point. It doesn't feel like it because a lot of the time our competitors are faster in a straight line than we are. But yeah, I do think that, you know, looking at the performance index, we've closed up significantly to AlphaTauri and Williams now. So if we can keep closing that gap just like a tiny bit more, we'll be right in the mix in the performance index. And it'd be quite nice to make a video that has the words "We no longer have the slowest car" in all caps. But all in good time. First we've got to get through this wet qualifying session, and you'll see me go out on my well, this is the end of my first flying lap on a set of inters, so the track was drying, but I wasn't sure by how much or how quickly. Go 5th fastest, but I'm not sure how many people had gone out at this point. You see that people are improving all the time, and then we were 13th, so we actually probably were good enough to go through, but the track was drying out, so I took a risk and went out basically right at the end of the session in the hopes that we might be able to go somewhat like quickly, and perhaps I was looking at this like that would probably be the only way if our dry pace in practice was any indication of the true pace of the car. We kind of needed to go out late in Q1 when the track was drying, so we had the sort of best run, and it seems to be working so far because we got the purple sector in Sector 1. That is typically the sector where you'll be best compared to the AI, in my experience, on this track, at least in previous years' games, so I figured it was probably the same in this game. But yeah, we're already 4 tenths up, so we're improving enough. We have gone down to last position, but I think everyone else has now done a run on soft compound tyres. So for me, this is all about just seeing, can I be better than them? And the evidence was looking good. I think I was over a second up on Albon, who was in 18th, which suggests that I'm probably up on whoever's in 16th as well. So yeah, we were getting through this pretty well. 5 tenths up, purple to both of the first 2 sectors. So it was all about just nailing these last couple of corners, and if I could do that, we were definitely looking at going through to Q2. It would be. I was trying to remember which one. So yeah, we end up improving by about 6.5 to 7 seconds, and that is good enough in the end for P1. Yeah, so going out on the drying circuit ended up doing us a massive service. We ended up being the fastest driver on track by 2 seconds almost. Obviously, that's a bit of a cheesed P1. I don't think we're likely to get pole in the actual race. Probably the most surprising result there was probably Zhou Guanyu out in Q1 in his home race. He'll be probably quite disappointed with that. Also, Vettel out and Stroll through, not something you'd expect to see. Gasly was in 9th. He's massively overdriving the AlphaTauri so far this season, I would say. Yeah, having a really, really strong season. Given the performance of the car, you'd expect him to be sort of struggling to get out of Q1, but he's making it into Q2 and sometimes even Q3. First flying lap in Q2 went okay. We go second. And then you'll see that I actually didn't improve on my next lap, but it was good enough to get us through. We ended up going through in 9th. Yeah, I kind of messed up the tyre allocation, which meant I didn't have a fresh set of tyres to go out on for the second run without using the fresh set of tyres I was planning on using in Q3. So I just kind of winged it a bit, and yeah, it ended up working out alright, because we managed to make it through. And now we're in Q3. It's our first flying lap Q3. It's 1:33.8. I think that was on a set of used tyres though, so there is definitely room for improvement, and we'll see that as we come to the end of my second flying lap now. We're sort of 4 or 5 tenths up. We're currently in P9, so if we can make a 4 or 5 tenth improvement, this would be really good. Honestly, the fact that I was able to go faster than Ricciardo's best lap when I was on a set of used tyres, it's quite shocking given that they are the 3rd fastest car on the grid. I make a big mistake there and lose a couple tenths, and in the end that lap was good enough for P4. That is my best qualifying result so far, I think, or at least maybe it's my tied best qualifying result so far. I can't remember where I qualified in Jeddah. I think it was P5, and if so, then that is my best qualifying result so far.
Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So the good news is that because Sainz was 3 tenths faster than me, I think even if I hadn't bottled that final corner in dramatic fashion like I did, I think I still would have qualified 4th. I don't think I would have been fast enough to catch Hamilton and amazingly Alonso in P2. The game's clearly doing that thing that it so often does, where it's like, oh, you're in a rivalry with this person, we're just going to make them really overpoweredly better than they usually are. So despite the fact that we qualify 4th, we still get out-qualified by our rival Fernando Alonso. There's only a few more races left in that rivalry now, so I think if we have if we finish behind him in this race, we're really going to have to either dig deep or hope that he has some failures, or just accept that that rivalry is probably over and take the L, as it were. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a very strong qualifying performance, so I should be very happy with that. P4 and what is allegedly the worst car on the grid. I really don't think that's true, though. I think the performance index is misleading, because I'm not struggling anywhere near as much as I was in this kind of scenario last season. But anyway, it's time now to get into the race.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. It's a race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula One victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first win with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt there's plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before we head into the braking zone of turn 14. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Fernando Alonso completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Robinson, Max Verstappen and Leclerc, Perez, Norris, Russell and Daniel Ricciardo, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll and Ocon, Schwartzman, Vettel, Guan Yu Zhou and Alex Albon, Latifi, Gasly, Fittipaldi and Yuki Tsunoda. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So, Enzo Fittipaldi got promoted one position up the grid due to Tsunoda's penalty, which is nice. It means he's not starting in last. He's managed to avoid that a lot this season, but it would be nice if he could come and join us up here, perhaps in the top 10 sort of space. It's a short wait as we get into the formation lap, but it'll be a long wait as we line up on the grid. The longest we've actually ever had to endure, starting in P4 next to Carlos Sainz. Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen here. You know, I've got a lot of fast cars behind me. We got Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Norris. I could very easily be in 10th or at least like 9th by the end of the lap. There's a lot of really fast drivers lining up behind, so yeah, I can't underestimate them. There's sort of 5 cars that can sort of contend at the front. So here we go, the lights come on and the lights go out, and here we go. It's a pretty decent start, all things considered. We definitely seem to get a better start than Alonso, but all in all, you can see behind Leclerc had a massive start. He gives us a big whack, and then Norris comes up our inside and gives us some minor floor damage or underbody damage. So we fall from P4 to P5 off the start. I think Norris might have picked up some damage from that, but yeah, that was quite unfortunate. We just got a couple of big hits on the inside, and I go massively deep into that corner. I try and convert my my mistake into an overtake, but it doesn't quite work out that way, unfortunately. And yeah, I think that that first corner just kind of rattled me a little bit, and I'm just trying to sort of keep it together and not fall away from these guys too much. But you can see I'm just kind of all over the place at the moment. It doesn't look like if Norris did get any damage it was particularly severe, despite the fact that he just came up alongside me and crashed into the side of my side pod, sort of torpedo style, if you're old enough to remember that. And yeah, now it's all about just sort of settling into a rhythm and trying to stay with the cars in front, not let them lose me too much, while also trying to drop the cars behind out of a second window, so I can not have to be worrying about DRS threats all race like I did in Jeddah. Basically every single lap I was having people contend with me. Norris does come into the pits, so I guess he did have some damage, even if it was minor. They've decided not to take the risk with that. Yeah, just generally I think the nature of the back straight on this track means that if you do have someone trying to sort of overtake you with DRS and they are a bit faster, they can probably manage it. It's going to be the same with Miami, which is the next race as well. Mark did draw attention to some kind of issue there. It would be unfortunate if we had 2 mechanical failures in a row, especially because we're in a pretty good position in this race. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, we have a severe engine issue. Find a safe space to retire or return to the pits. Again, find somewhere safe to stop. We need you to retire.
So what's particularly unfortunate about this is that we're kind of acting like a mobile chicane right now. You see someone shunts me right up the backside there. I think it might have been one of the Hasses or George Russell, I'm not sure. But Russell is out, Schumacher is out, Vettel is out. So yeah, a big pile up as a result of the game wresting control from me to retire me from the race. And I mean, at this point I was just scrabbling to remember everything that had just happened, because it was a lot in a very short space of time. 3 DNFs. Surprisingly, that wasn't the craziest thing that happened as a result of that pile-up. Now, you'll have to bear with me, because obviously I retired from this race, so I don't know what happened in this race. But when I saw the podium, I had to ask myself, what the hell happened in this race? You are seeing that correctly. That is Pierre Gasly P1, Yuki Tsunoda P3, and I will wait for you to see who is P2. You might have caught a flash of his arm there briefly, but yeah, I have no clue what happened in this race. But yeah, it means Pierre Gasly picks up his 2nd victory in Formula 1, and Lance Stroll gets his best ever finish in Formula 1 with a P2 finish. So yeah, I don't know what happened to the rest of the people who were ahead of me, but whether there was some kind of glitch or whether there was some kind of issue in the race that was unseen, but congratulations begrudgingly to Pierre Gasly, who is in the 2nd worst car on the grid supposedly, and his teammate, who is also in the 2nd worst car on the grid, for finishing 1st and 3rd, and as a result they will now overtake us in the championship.
Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I'll probably go for Pierre Gasly. The team did a good job with the strategy to put him in amongst the pack, but it's the driver's job to capitalise on those opportunities, and he did so with a lot of skill.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So here's a fun one. Because of all those issues that happened in the race that I didn't see, Enzo Fittipaldi ended up finishing 6th, which means he becomes my first teammate to get points in a Formula 1 race. And also it means that we hit our sponsor objective, despite the fact that I DNF'd from the race. He picked up the slack. Does mean that AlphaTauri go ahead of us in the championship, but hopefully we can recoup those that 10-point deficit we have to them at some point over the course of the season. But yeah, I would have loved to have been in that race. It looks like it must have been a crazy one if that was the outcome. Yeah, just a really remarkable result. I think Aston Martin picked up points. I think Williams picked up some points. Everyone's going to have picked up points from that race, basically. Even maybe Alfa Romeo, I don't know. But yeah, just a wild and wacky outcome. I hope that you enjoyed the little of the racing I actually did. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.